Hi, welcome to Strategy, Leadership, and Impact with your host, Blake Repine. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to this episode of Strategy, Leadership, and Impact. I've been through the usual busyness phases lately, so I've been very busy. Again, mid-year here in Australia, coming up to the end of the financial year, so getting a lot of things done and preparing for the next financial year that starts 1 July. Big announcement, the audiobook for the Leadership Path is almost there. It's currently in review of quality control, and as soon as it passes through that, which typically can take up to about a week or two, it's going to be available for download. So very excited about that. Currently looking at about 38 or 39 different distribution channels, and of that, 11 of them are through libraries, and then all the rest are actually your retail platforms where you can download audiobooks. So very exciting. The one that's probably going to take the longest is ACX, of course, through Amazon. That can take up to about a month. So about a month or so from now would be about whenever it's going to be available on Amazon. So again, very excited about that. It's almost here. It's been quite a journey. It's been a great learning experience. I really can't wait and get back and do the next book, which will be going back to my first book, Soldier to Executive, and doing the audiobook of that. So that'll probably be coming out early next year. And then, of course, a few months after that, hopefully about 3 to 6 months after that, my third book, which is currently untitled, will be out. And I'll tell you more about that in future episodes. So you'll have to keep listening to future episodes. Anyway, don't want to hold you up. Moving on to this week's subject. So this episode, I want to talk about identifying the signs of burnout. And I think this is important sometimes to recognize burnout in the workplace, being able to recognize burnout in your staff, your team, being able to recognize burnout in yourself. This is something I personally experienced not too long ago. I had a problem with telling people no. So whenever you start developing a strong reputation as that person who can get things done, which I have because I like seeing things get done, seeing things get ticked off in a very quickly and efficient manner, people tend to give you invites to come help them out. So I was given a chance to be on a number of boards, doing a number of roles, working with a number of organizations, and I really stretched myself too thin. And before I knew it, before I even recognized it, I was burnt out. I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't actually getting anything done because I had so many things that were going on at the same time. I actually wasn't able to get anything done or get anything to really move forward or get anywhere, whereas previously I had. So it does affect your ability to be able to be successful in what you're doing. And sometimes narrowing our focus down, keeping it small, only doing a few things at a time is one of the best ways we can be successful and not take on too much. The more you take on, the less you're going to accomplish. So just remember that. So in order for us to, get an understanding of what burnout is, let's define what burnout is. So burnout is a state of physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion caused by prolonged stress and overwhelming work demands. Then, of course, you go back to the last podcast episode, we actually talked about psychosocial hazards, and one of those were around those overwhelming work demands. So, and it can affect various aspects of your life. And I mentioned this last episode too, where it's not about work-life balance. If one thing is not going well, the rest of it isn't going to go well. And this could be your job, your relationships, and just your overall well-being. But again, recognizing the signs of burnout, it is essential in order for you to take steps to address it. You have to know what it looks like so you can actually take steps to address it. And so some common signs to watch out for, and I think I have about 8 different signs that I'll share with you on this episode, different things you can think about. So the first one is physical and emotional exhaustion. So that's feeling drained, tired, depleted of all your energy, both physically and emotionally. And that's a significant indicator of burnout. If you're feeling this day after day, week after week, really starts to compound on itself as you keep going through it every day. And you might even find it challenging to get out of bed in the morning and struggle to find motivation. So, the alarm goes off and you just can't get up. You're just hitting the snooze time after time after time. Now, again, recognizing if you've always been like that, you still might have trouble getting out of bed. It might not be burnout. But if you find it's difficult to go to work, it's difficult to get motivated to do anything, and some of these signs and symptoms are really almost like depression, because that's kind of what it is. You just lack the motivation to really get up and do things, and even sometimes the basic things. So number 2 is you might have a sense of detachment. So This is detachment from your work, your colleagues, and your responsibilities. They can slowly start to develop. And you may find yourself becoming more and more negative and indifferent and distant. So you don't want to spend time with them anymore. Even at work, you don't want to stand around the water cooler, so to speak, and have those conversations. You just don't even want to be there. Same thing when you're at home or with the group you may volunteer with. You just don't find joy in those things anymore. So you start to detach and pull away. And sometimes that's your body telling you, hey, look, or your mind telling you, hey, look, you need to step away from these things, quit doing so much. So, number 3, it decreased productivity and effectiveness. Burnout, it almost always leads to a decrease in productivity and your effectiveness. Despite putting in effort, you may find it difficult to accomplish tasks and meet deadlines, and procrastination and lack of focus are really common. And this is what I found too whenever I was experiencing this burnout, was there was so many demands that needed to be met that I just couldn't get going in order to meet any of them. And I am someone who really focuses strongly on being efficient in my work and being able to get things done and ticking things off the list. But when that list is too big for you to handle, you're not going to get things ticked off. And sometimes in your workplace, if you find that people aren't getting things ticked off and you start seeing these signs and symptoms of burnout appearing, you need to look at resourcing. Are they resourced appropriately? Can we resource them in other ways so that they can still be, so they can regain their successfulness, regain their effectiveness, and actually start being more productive again? So it's something you have to look at. Number 4, so physical symptoms. Burnout, it can manifest in physical ways sometimes that we don't actually associate with it. So that could be headaches, stomach aches, muscle tensions, a weakened immune system. You find normally you're not the person who's sick all the time, but now you're constantly sick with a cold or something else. You may experience these changes in your appetite. That could be overeating or undereating. You're never hungry or you're always hungry. It's a coping mechanism. Sleep disturbances or frequent illnesses, like I just talked about. The sleep disturbances, are you waking up several times throughout the night when you didn't before? Are you experiencing anxiety as you're starting to go to sleep because you're thinking about all the stuff you have to get done that you just cannot get done? Or perhaps you're waking up middle of the night and again, you just can't go back to sleep because you're thinking about all these things I have to do, I have to get done, and you feel like you're so far behind. Where do you actually pick up the start to get forward again or move forward again? Number 5, so emotional instability, irritability, mood swings, anxiety, depression, those are all signs of burnout. And you may become more easily frustrated. You might find you have a shorter temper or an experience in heightened emotional reaction to small stressors. And whenever you watch people in the workplace, sometimes how they react to certain things, and you think, oh man, they might have broke down crying or started yelling or stormed out of the room or whatever, and you think, was that a typical response from this person, or is that like an equivalent of response to what happened? And you think, wow, why did they respond in such a bad manner? Or you might think about that too. What they said actually didn't make me that angry, but I just blew up about it. You have to really look and find out, why is that? Because sometimes whenever you're under all that stress and you're burnt out, even the slightest thing just compounds it and it just adds to it. And you really just start getting your back up and you explode over the smallest things. And you might not know why. Well, it's because you're to that point where you're burnt out and you're ready to break. So and when you notice that in yourself or in your team, again, let's get to the root of the problem. Let's find out what's going on. Let's try to help this person. Number 6, withdrawal from responsibilities. So burnout can lead to a desire to isolate yourself from social interactions at work and in your personal life. You might avoid tasks or responsibilities. You might neglect those personal relationships. You might draw from activities you once enjoyed. We kind of talked about this just before. If you're not finding joy in things that you used to find joy in, there's a problem there. There's something that needs to be addressed. If you're detaching from your personal relationships, you just either feel like you don't have the time to talk to someone or you don't want to explain to someone what's happening. The social interaction, it's all because the commitment is just too much to maintain. So you start shutting down and pushing things away, and eventually push everything away to where you're completely isolated yourself. And that's not where we want ourselves to be, and it's not where you want anybody else to be. So number 7, a loss of enjoyment and sense of accomplishment. So when you experience burnout, you might feel that lack of satisfaction from your achievements and the activities used to bring you joy, just like we talked about before. And you might question the value of your work and struggle to find meaning in what you do. If you find that you used to get a lot of joy and pleasure from your job and a lot of fulfillment from the things you do, and this could be in a volunteer capacity, any other capacity, and you find that that's not there anymore, or like you're not achieving anymore because you're not able to get anything done, you're not able to achieve, you have to step back and look at that and think, well, how do I address this? What do I do? And then number 8, increase negativity. So a negative outlook and pessimistic mindset, it can become more prevalent when burnout sets in. You might find it challenging to see positive aspects of your work or life in general. Going back to what we've been talking about nearly through this whole thing, it's about the positive side of things. It's about that fulfillment. It's about that personal enjoyment. If none of those things are there anymore, you're probably experiencing burnout. If you notice several of these signs kind of persisting over an extended period and really they're starting to interfere with your daily life, it's time to take action. This could be talking with your manager, supervisor, whatever. It could be talking to a healthcare professional if you need to. It could be talking to your employee support program if your organization has one of those. It could be talking to a therapist, a counselor, whatever you want to call them, whoever it is. Whoever can help you manage and recover from burnout, that's who you need to talk to. And if you're in the position where you actually see someone that you work with or works for you and they're experiencing that, you need to step up and actually start to offer up some of these avenues for them to be able to fix it. And you need to be looking at how they're resourced and whether or not there's something you can do to fix it, getting to the root of the problem and actually starting to address it. Additionally, you need to make self-care a priority by setting boundaries. So this could be not taking phone calls and emails from work or checking your emails over the weekend whenever you're not supposed to be working, not taking work phone calls unless there's an emergency and you're supposed to be available for emergencies, etc. And this is something I actually had someone once who was telling me that they got really stressed over the weekend whenever they got emails sent to them that were work related. And I said, well, don't check your emails on the weekend. They said, well, I can't help it. I got the app on my phone and it gives me alerts. I said, well, a couple things you can do. The first one is turn off your alerts so you don't actually get the alerts when the emails come in because that's a stimulant. So there's stimulus whenever that happens. You get that ding or you see that red number come up or the red dot or whatnot on your phone or on the app and you go, oh, I got to check it. I got to check it. That's a stimulus. So take that away. Or you can even delete the app off your phone. So this was somebody that worked for me. It was like, you have a laptop at work. You can check your work email when you're at work. Delete the app off the phone, then that temptation is gone altogether. So sometimes we have to help people identify that. So that's a stressor that's taken away. Again, setting boundaries. You have to learn to say no. Like I said before, I have a hard time telling people no. Why? Because I want to give a lot of my time to other people. I get a lot of fulfillment in that. But sometimes you say yes too many times. And the next thing you know, you're overstretched far beyond your normal capacity. You start to get burnout. And then the longer that burnout continues, the worse it's going to get. So sometimes you have to learn to say no. Practice stress management techniques. If it's mindfulness, meditation, working out, going for a long walk, enjoying something else that takes your mind off some of these other things. And it could be time that you need just not to think, just not to have any priority that you have to do, no other commitment, but just sit with yourself. Sometimes that's the best thing you need. And then start engaging in activities that promote relaxation and rejuvenation. Going to the gym, whatever the things are that bring you joy, that help you feel relaxed, actually disconnecting, do that. Find it. Even if it's 5-10 minutes or whatever, you got to find a place to start. Now, this episode, I'm not really talking about different ways that we can address and overcome burnout because that's going to be in the next episode. So you're going to have to tune back in. But also in future episodes, I have a couple really good interviews lined up that you're definitely going to want to listen in on. And I know that they're going to be great because there were some really outstanding people. So definitely stay tuned for the next episode. Anyway, like I asked at the end of every episode, what is your take on this? What are your thoughts? Have you experienced burnout? Let me know. I know Spotify has a thing where you can actually comment on the questions I put up on the podcast, and I'll put one of those up. Also, you can email me at blakerepine@gmail.com or connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search my name, Blake Repine. Love to hear from you. Thank you very much, and talk to you again soon. Bye.